The minimalist creator space has a lot of amazing advice about personal finance. Around every corner in minimalism blogs, videos, podcasts, you'll hear incredible stories about the measures people have taken to eradicate their outrageous debt and start their financial lives anew, debt-free. Recently, though, I, like millions of other Americans, got the good word that some assistance in getting closer to that debt-free life was about to come from an unlikely source: the government. It wasn't long ago that we all breathed a collective sigh of relief when the Biden administration made this historic announcement.
You're all forgiven.
The Supreme Court struck down President Biden's plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student loan debt for millions of Americans. So, joining us now is...
Well, it's a good thing all this minimalism content about personal finances exists, because today I will be using it as my guidance for paying off all $33,000 I still owe my loan service providers. And hey, $33,000 for 5 years and 2 degrees from Binghamton University to fulfill my boyhood dream of becoming a filmmaker and getting a cool cup? What can I say? I know a deal when I see one. 2 degrees, 1 cup. It's the name of my memoir. Alright, I got my minimalism personal finance advice, my calculator, and my spreadsheet software that I'm definitely qualified to use according to my resume. After this, I can hopefully rest easy knowing that I have fulfilled one of the main pillars of minimalism: having absolutely no debt. Alright, here we go. You know, all this not knowing the first damn thing about how spreadsheets work has gotten me thinking. I feel like for me, being completely debt-free wasn't ever that big of a priority for me in living a more minimalist lifestyle. First and foremost, what drew me to learn about minimalism, even as I was a little late to the game, was this empowering feeling that I could take more control over my life than I previously had given myself credit for. That by altering my relationship to the material world, I could live a more fulfilling life from the simpler, right in front of my face things. That a good life can be found through measuring your self-worth by the positive impact you can have on the world. I guess that's a good enough way to put it lightly. I got excited at the prospect of the government erasing a solid 2/3 of my student loan debt. Millions of Americans like me saw this as one less major hurdle to overcome in being able to follow our passions, lead our country towards innovative and economic growth, and bring meaning to our own lives. You know, what's it called? The American dream! Over the past few days, this event has got me pondering, wandering, tottering, laundering over certain questions. I could ask why we live in a country where an idea as bold and progressive and genuinely good for the entire economy has got this far, was proven possible, had a plan of action, a website, everything, just for it to horribly fail at the last minute. I should have known something was suspicious when I was using a government website that worked properly. Why did college even have to cost this much to begin with? Who is benefiting from me paying all this money? Are we preying on not yet fully developed brains when we tell our young people, yeah, go to college, it's expensive, but you'll get a loan and a job, so it's fine? Is this massive loan really worth it based on the few jobs that are currently available, how little they pay, and how they're immediately burning out our generation from overwork caused by cost-cutting measures and bad economic times? If every cent of this money is necessary to keep our educational institutions from crumbling, how do other countries seem to be doing just fine with the cost of higher education being significantly less? Are we absolutely sure that all the money we spend on higher education is definitely not getting progressively highly exploitative of every younger generation? But for me, maybe the biggest question is, why should I trust six people in all the United States to decide in a supposed democracy what's best for our country? 6 people we did not vote in. 6 people we cannot vote out. Thank you, other 3, I guess. This seemed like it was gonna go beyond just, oh, let's be nice to young people. It seems like it was a damn good plan to get younger generations on their feet, boost morale as young people grow increasingly skeptical that their government actually works for them, allow for more financial freedom so that young professionals can pursue careers that they're actually passionate about, you know, the backbone of America's branding, and provide more money for an economic stimulation for an economic system and much needed stimulation. So, like, why should I trust this version of democracy? Why should I trust that capitalism will sort itself out? Why should I trust my government? The answers to those questions are growing increasingly hard to find. So anyway, minimalism! Is anyone still watching? Nah, who am I kidding? I wouldn't blame you if you're not. No, if you haven't figured it out at this point in the video, I do not have a grand minimalist financial plan that's going to save our collective asses. In fact, here's what I'm going to do. Let's just get this out of the way. Well, my wife is going back to school. Super proud of her. She got into the program that she really, really wanted, and it's honestly amazing. But, we'll be down one income for a little bit. And then, of course, having another big fat loan to pay back after she graduates, which, again, I'm so proud and supportive of her going into this master's program. That's just the reality of things. So next step, seeing if I can get some kind of loan deferment on my end of things. After that, I guess go back to square one before any ounce of hope was presented before me and see how many months are left in my New York State Get On Your Feet program. If you live in New York State, look it up. It could come in handy right about now. And then after that, take that rock solid minimalism approach and do the lowest amount of monthly payment possible and get done paying my loans back by time I'm 50, 60. I'll have to revisit my spreadsheet or just pray that climate change kills me by then. Have the oceans rise and I'll get swallowed by a whale. Or maybe I could dabble in rebellion and just not pay him back. At least until the IRS starts coming after me again. I say again because of my little encounter with them during high school for not paying back $75 of overdue library fees. But seriously, despite the minimalism financial advice on paying off your debt as fast as you can, I really think I am just going to stick with the absolute minimum amount that I could possibly pay back, because at least a little shred of hope has been instilled in me that maybe sometime in my lifetime, again, lifetime, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, maybe some kind of forgiveness thing can happen again. And at that point, I don't want to have them already paid and miss out. Okay, I'll entertain this idea. I know you're all thinking, what if my wife doesn't go back to school? That doesn't seem like the fiscally smart thing to do right now, does it? Okay, so my wife won't get a master's degree in public health, a degree that you need to get basically any job in that field, and for the record, having a job in public health is way cooler than my fake videography job. Now let's apply that to everyone. It's not fiscally responsible for anyone to go get a master's degree in public health, a degree in a field that is required to keep this country alive and healthy. Because seriously, why doesn't anyone want to work these minimum wage jobs anymore? Kids today are so lazy wanting to do things like study and do research and write theses instead of flipping burgers and scanning price tags all day. Let's all do the fiscally responsible thing, like work in food service and retail and anything that doesn't require a college degree, which isn't much. I mean, that's just so cute. An entire economic system based on making cheeseburgers for each other all day, selling each other clothes. That sounds like the new cozy gaming sensation. Adorable. You know what the worst part about all this is for me? I actually started to regret going to college. All the messages of maybe you shouldn't have gone to college if you didn't want to face the financial responsibility started weighing on me. Because both my videography degree and human development degree historically lead to low paying jobs. Every job opportunity I've gotten so far, I could have easily gotten with just an associate's or a raw display of my skill. But do you know where I learned to hone those skills? College! I was not the same filmmaker from when I started college to when I finished college. Yes, all of the fundamentals of filmmaking can be learned online, which is amazing, but not the round table discussions with my peers, not the one-to-one meetings with my professors who challenged me to think outside of the box. Human development, I am so grateful to have been able to participate in discussions challenging my views on race, gender, identity, politics, social change, and beyond. The organizations I was a part of didn't just give me something fun to do in between studying, didn't just give me lifelong friends, didn't just give me my wife. Like, they served as a proving ground for me as a leader and a contributor. A place where I can practice organizing groups of people, making tough decisions, being diplomatic, and if I failed, all that happens is I ruin an a cappella show. It was a great proving ground for me to learn those skills that I'm going to take into the workplace. So I don't want to ponder for one more second if college was worth it for me. Yes, it was. Now, for you, basically anybody who isn't me, was me going to college worth it to you? Well, think about all the people that make your world go round. The people who run your government, work in your medical fields, the people who run the businesses that you purchase goods and services from that make your life better, most of them require college degrees, but just a baseline of smart, educated people in your population. People's radical worry is that society will collapse because everybody is so lazy nowadays and nobody wants to work. My radical worry is that society will collapse when nobody wants to work jobs that require college degrees that require thousands and thousands of dollars to pay back. And those who do pursue those degrees are spending thousands and thousands of dollars to pay back their loans instead of, stimulating the economy that, again, looks like could use a good stimulating right about now. Also, as a side note, I like my burgers. I like my retail stores. I like the goods and services that are provided for me by workers who are paid minimum wage. In a perfect world, college is affordable for everyone, but those who do still work in lower skilled labor get paid a fair wage. But that sounds like a big old topic for another time. Where was I? Oh yeah, minimalism. What does this got to do with minimalism? First off, all that minimalism financial advice, great. If it resonates with you, great. I too will probably be wanting to educate myself on what other people have done. Maybe there is a better way than just doing the lowest possible monthly income-driven repayment plan until climate change melts the oceans and I get swallowed by a whale. Student loans really illustrate a thought pattern that I recognize now that I was kind of caught in upon graduating, which was like, look at all these student loans I gotta pay off. Guess I'll just spend the next 40 years doing the income-driven repayment plan because I'm stupid and I can't figure out a financial system better to handle these things, and I'm incapable of learning about all this stuff. Guess I'll just suffer the way it is. No! Minimalism taught me that I am capable of taking control of the things that I don't understand and finding a better, healthier way to do this for myself. But again, I also kind of strongly feel in the case of student loans right now that maybe if I do pay it off as slowly as humanly possible, that there is some shred of hope that they will get canceled in the near future. But I use this as an example to illustrate how minimalism helped me break out of negative, disempowering thought patterns. But one thing I'd say most of these minimalism pieces miss, and I'd say this applies to the greater umbrella of self-development and spiritual spaces too, is that we might just be living in a broken economic and political system. Yes, these spaces are easy to call out that we live in a broken cultural system, which of course influences everything else, but so much responsibility is placed on the individual rather than the collective or the system as a whole. Yes, like I've said, some of the most profound changes I've seen in my own life thanks to me exploring these spaces are greater senses of intentional living, control over my own life, and living up to my full potential. Sure, there's some good financial advice out there that I'm probably gonna read up on to hopefully help myself get out of this mess, but if all I do is pull myself up by the bootstraps and pay off this debt without recognizing how monumentally f***ed our systems are, all I'm doing is giving into this facade that everything about paying for higher education is right and just, the system is fine, and definitely won't get worse for coming generations. Or maybe on a more optimistic note, in the same way that minimalism taught me that I can intentionally break out of thought and behavior patterns of that's just the way it is, why can't that be expanded to us as a collective? I mean, that's what the system is there for, right? to benefit us collectively. What's it gonna take for us to say that there's gotta be a way for us to do higher education, its cost and its paradigm of repayment more equitable and affordable for everyone's benefit? So for me, those are the questions that I will be asking myself as a result of minimalism, and less of an emphasis on how do I become financially free as fast as I can. Now, I know the two biggest points in defense of the cancellation of student loan forgiveness are you shouldn't have gone to college if you don't have the money to repay the loan, and it's not fair to those who already paid off their student loans or decided not to go to college because of the expense. There's already a plethora of perspectives that, regardless of what side you're on, I'm sure you've heard a couple before. Similar ground to where I tread before, we need to be looking at this as a collective United States rather than on the individual level. But also allow me to add that frustration is valid. It's okay. Because this student debt cancellation plan is not the final solution to the much larger problem. It is a flawed response to an equally flawed system based on greed and false expectation. Your anger is valid if you feel like you missed out on free money that would have helped you pursue your American dreams. But if you're angrily coming after someone who would have benefited from this loan cancellation, I believe your anger is misplaced. I believe the anger should be directed towards the political and education systems that keep higher education at this cost, as well as the business and economic systems that underhire and underpay college graduates.
I didn't want to make a video like this. I usually stop myself from making videos in which I don't have a practical solution for. I'm sorry that if you clicked on this looking for a shred of hope in these challenging times, that at best you kind of just got someone who maybe you can empathize with. And also, solutions don't happen overnight, and I have a right to voice my concern about how a corrupt system has allowed this unjust exploitation of future generations to continue. And also, I'm not even saying college should be free. I'm not even saying that I want my loans paid off entirely, even if the loan forgiveness could just bring the cost down to maybe something comparable to what the boomers would have paid, adjusted for inflation, and do the same thing for the tuition for the incoming students. I know that there's a huge argument to be made for free higher education altogether, and of course that is the ideal outcome of all of this, but that was just my reasonable attempt to, make some kind of compromise. I'll take what I can get at this point. If nothing happens soon, I at least believe sharing these perspectives is what guides people to take action to better their own lives, as well as the lives of others, whether the action you can take is immediate or far in the future. And if you're watching this, if you're into the minimalism, self-development, or spiritual spaces, then I know you're open to new perspectives, deconstructing old beliefs, and bettering your life as well as the lives around you. I know you can educate yourself on the issues perpetuating the unjust system we live in, especially the other bullshit the Supreme Court just unveiled, and think about what it means to build meaningful lives for everyone. Not just you, for everyone. Yeah, wow. Of course I only talked about the student loan perspective of the Supreme Court stuff that just came out when I know that they have impacted other people's lives in a far worse way than my life will be impacted. I think I have the right to raise my voice about how I feel about the student loan thing, but at the end of the day, I'm just paying back money. There are people with different identities to me that are facing very real discrimination and death. That whole abortion thing, we haven't quite figured out the nitty-gritty of that yet, have we? This is a broken system that I would like to remind everyone that too great a focus on ourselves is not going to change. I believe that we have everything in the perspectives of minimalism as a foundation to create real, meaningful, social and structural change. Well, anyway, next video is on gratitude. If you were looking for something a little more uplifting. Thanks for watching. See ya.